Whew. All right. Well, let's see here. So my goal here today is I just want to build an application that monitors and promotes videos on my new YouTube channel, which you're now watching, right? This video, this live stream is on that channel. So, to that end, I've already got something I can kind of start with, but I need to like upgrade it a bit. Okay, so prior to this stream, I went to the cloud console there for YouTube, and there's APIs, and you have to make sure you go to the library to enable the API they want. In this case, I wanted the YouTube data API. Then you go to credentials and you create a new API key, right, like this. So create credentials, choose API key, and then and then it'll give you a key and you can download that, stash that somewhere safe, which I have done. So with that, now I want to actually build something to work with that data. And even here, I've got some stuff we can use already. I have a HTTP client, a REST client, using the reactive non-blocking web client from earlier. And this client, it's non-blocking, but yeah, I've already got it there. So I suppose I can reuse a lot of that, huh? Let's see, this is the controller. I don't really need that. Do I need this? This I might need as well. Well, let's see actually. So here I've got logic to read in all the data associated with the API, right? So let's see what I can do here with it. What does this client let me do? Get all the videos by username and uploads. Get videos by playlist. Get all videos by playlist. Let's see here. Get playlist by channel. Channel by username, get channel by ID. So it looks like I can do some interesting things here. What I want is to find out about the latest and greatest video and then just to publish that. So I need to store, like basically I just need to keep a running list of all the new videos. And then, do things to promote that. So I think the first thing we have to do is to use this API that I built, use this client to talk to the YouTube API, and then store that somewhere. That's step one. Step two will be, tweeting about it. I want to tweet when a new video is up. I want to just make that work go away. So just the video being there is the thing that is required to make sure it gets promoted. And then I want to have something to store information, but like maybe a static site or something, or an API. I don't even know what that would look like. That part is secondary, I suppose. Well, no, I mean, I could build an API. I wonder if I could do that with this. Yeah. Okay, let's think about this. So, ingest job. Basically, I'm reading. This is an old code. I'm not going to use this code. In fact, just to make sure I don't do anything stupid here, let's rmrf.get here. So now it's just a regular. I can't like accidentally overwrite the actual project here. Let's see. If we go to Coffee Software Show. Create a new repository here. Okay. Coffee. And then we'll call this YouTube promotion service or something. whatever, YouTube service, let's just call it that, because we don't know. A hub to handle promoting new content on my YouTube channel. Okay, so we'll make it public because, you know, who cares? Add the repository. Apache 2 licensed. Go to repository. Good. Copy and paste that. CD desktop. Git clone. New YouTube promotion. Okay. So I'll go to YouTube promotion, the original one. I'm gonna copy the git config. I'll do git init, and then copy the new YouTube promotion. .git config. .git config. Git status. Git add. Git add. Oh, git add GitHub. Git add. Git ignore. Git add. Maven. Okay, so let's see. Initial commit. Git push force. All right, so it's now there. It's not what we want, but it's a start. Okay, first things first. If I was going to build this today with this code, what would I do differently? Well, quite a bit, I suppose. Although this is already using Spring Boot 3.0, so that's, you know, a step in the right direction, certainly. Okay, so maybe I wouldn't do that much differently. It looks like it's different in scope, but, you know, technically it's where it is, and it's already what it needs to be. Let's think about this. Yeah, okay, it looks like it's basically okay, so close this out. New project, of course, today. I would just call this CS and then YouTube, and we'll have GraalVM support. Why wouldn't we? We will have R2DBC, we'll have Postgres support, we'll have the reactive web support. I think that's it. I think that's all we really need. Oh, actuator, of course. What else? What else? GraphQL. Do I need GraphQL? I think I had an API. I wouldn't mind having an API later, but that's not the goal right now. It's not the most important part. Because I'm gonna have a static site. Even there, I have to answer questions like, where is this static site gonna live, right? Do I want to build a actual honest to goodness, you know, rich client app with JavaScript and all that stuff, or am I okay for now just having like GitHub, you know, static site that I just update with some new text files in the repository? I think for now, maybe having a static site would be easier. What do you think? Like if I just built a thing that whenever there's a new YouTube video, wrote out a new markdown file, or better yet, it just wrote out the HTML proper, you know, built up the website based on the contents of my YouTube channel. And actually that would be good, because that way I'm not really, it doesn't matter if I don't have to keep track of what's new and not. I just can just write out files for every single video every time, and it's whatever the latest one is the latest one. I don't have to do delta tracking or anything like that. Yeah. And right now my site is small enough. My videos are what? I've got like 11 of them, so you know, it's not exactly big data or anything like that. Let's think about this. Yeah, okay, let's do that. Hit generate. So we'll move the old one to a separate folder here. Make dir, so first of all, rm off YouTube, good. YouTube promotion, rm off YouTube promotion, good. Go here. We'll grab the Coffee Software Show repository. And we're gonna keep this for reference. I'm gonna copy and paste, but basically this is just for reference. Okay, so there's the code, freshly cloned. Make dir old, move everything to old. Okay, git add old, move.maven to old, move.github to old, move.gitignore to old. Old, git push. Okay, git add. Come on. Let's see, old. Git add old.gitignore .mvn. Okay. Goody. So now we've got our canvas, our empty workspace. Go back to the initializer, and we can just, I guess we can just generate this, right? So rm downloads graalvm okay, hit enter. Downloads UAO youtube.zip. So this one will be Gradle first. Hello. Somebody just joined the chat. I appreciate it. Good. Okay, so that's one. So what we're doing, just to recap, because nobody's been here up until recently. What we're doing is I'm building a bot to analyze YouTube data and to promote it. So I want to, like, whenever there's a new video, I want to tweet about it, and I want to, oh, you know what, I do have to, so I need to promote it, so I'm going to tweet about it, I'm going to update a static website. Okay, simple. But the question then is, okay, if I use this YouTube API, the YouTube REST API, and I pull down all of the information about all the videos, I can just write out the new static website. You know, I can write out a new static page in my GitHub Pages thing for the new video. But what about tweeting? Oh, I can't tweet every video every single time there's a new video, right? I have to make sure I figure out the delta, you know? So I need some heuristic there. Maybe I'll have something that runs in the background or something. That does raise some questions. So I guess there's going to have to be a service, right? I'm going to have an API somewhere. I'm going to have to run this somewhere because it's going to need to respond. So if it's going to be an API, if it's going to be running somewhere, I might as well just have a REST endpoint or a GraphQL endpoint or something, you know? In which case the static page on GitHub Pages could just talk to this service to get its data. So I don't need to actually do code generation in Java. Do I? Don't think I do. I could probably write something to pull the data down, right? Yeah. Yeah, I could do that. That would be fine. Yeah. Okay, let's try it. Okay, so let's just try it out. So I've got this existing code for, if you just join me, that kind of does half of what I want to do. It's already going to do. Oops, this doesn't work. Why is that? YouTube old. Yeah, that's I mean the scheduled job that generates an API that generates the HTML. Yeah, for sure. I mean that's kind of what I was thinking originally, but why not? If I just had a single, it's just a JavaScript app, right? It doesn't have to be anything special. I could build a JavaScript GitHub page, GitHub Pages page, and then it could talk to this API. What I'm saying is I'm going to have this job running, right? You said add scheduled. That implies I have a Java process running 24/7. And if it's going to be running, it might as well have an HTTP endpoint. And if it's going to have an HTTP endpoint, then why not just pull the data from that endpoint and then show it on this other JavaScript page? But you're right. Like my original inclination was to do exactly what you just said, which is when there's a new video, which I'm going to have to determine. I'm going to have to like pull. And it's not like I'm publishing 1,000 videos a day or something. This is not like a super lively channel, but it's going to be enough that I don't want to have to worry about it. So let's say this thing does its job, 10 times a day. It pulls down information and captures that and all that stuff. So is there like a webhook? Can I have YouTube tell me when something has happened? YouTube webhooks. Ooh. Hello. Okay, well, something is interesting. Use Google. Hi, thanks for joining us, Carlos. So I'm gonna build something to promote new YouTube videos on my channel, the little channel of which you are, on which you're watching this video. I want to build something to promote new YouTube videos. So I'm just thinking out loud about, okay, well, let's say I've got a bit of code that I can reuse to query the YouTube data API, but everything else is sort of as yet unwritten. So one thing I'm thinking of is, okay, whenever I publish a new YouTube video, I want to tweet it out, and I want to update I want to have an HTML page that lists all the videos, right? So my question is, do I just pull the API, or can I just get a notification? And it looks like I can get a notification here using Google Cloud PubSub Hub, or PubSub Hub, a server publish protocol. So I can subscribe to a notification for my own channel, basically. So how does that work? Go to this thing right here. Whoa, cool. So that's cool. Wait, does that mean I have to get something up and running first? Okay, let's for now. I'll leave the integration question till later, right? Because I just want to write some code, and in order to get something up and running to the point where I could test the integration, I'd have to do YAML and Kubernetes, and it's fine. We could do that. I might still do it, but let's write some code first. So let's assume that we've got some notification, some event telling us that the YouTube channel has updated something, right? Actually, and since we don't have that many videos, I don't really even care what video was changed. I'll just pull down everything each time I get an event. So, record. Can you see that font, friends? Let me make the font larger here. Let's see, 26. Okay, so that did nothing. Reset to 26. There you go. Okay, so I've got a brand new Spring Boot app. I've just added, R2DBC, actuator, Webflux, Postgres support. I don't need the JDBC stuff. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I could have the server render the HTML from the Spring app. Yeah, it's not like I couldn't. It just seems like it would be less moving parts for the Java app, you know? Because if GitHub will host a single JavaScript page, and the JavaScript page can just do window.fetch, then it might as well just talk to this API, you know? And that way I don't have to worry about... It's just one less moving part. I don't, whenever something happens, I can republish the HTML, you're right. But also, if I make changes here in the API endpoint, then the JavaScript will see the new stuff anyway. So, I don't know. But you're right, I totally could. That was my original thinking, was to have it publish the change. And then it'd just be a static site, right? But, I don't even need a framework for what I'm talking about. It'd just be like like 20 lines of JavaScript. Let's see. I mean, that's, famous last words, of course. I'm sure it'll be like a React app with 5,000 lines of code, before you know it. But I'm going to start with just like window.fetch and JavaScript and some HTML, talking to this endpoint. So the endpoint, this will broadcast changes if it needs to, but I don't want to have to create more moving parts. Okay, but either way, we need to figure out getting the data in there first. Okay, so first things first. Let's say, well, first of all, we should keep some notes, huh? This is my favorite part of the process, is ideas, ideation, YouTube promotion, things to look into, right? Okay. Use the YouTube data API to receive pub/sub webhook notifications when a new video has been published. Okay, there's this. And then server rendering. Yeah, you're saying rendering it in Spring would be less moving parts. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not gonna like the way that I'm gonna have two parts anyway. I'm gonna have a static GitHub page, which is just static, right? It's just JavaScript, and then I'll have this. And this is it's an API. This will run in Kubernetes somewhere, right? And so the static web page I can update. It'll be self-contained. It'll just be a static page hosted on GitHub. It'll be like coffeesoftershow.github.io, and maybe I'll even get a proper. I think I even have coffeesofter.com. I could eventually I'll move that custom domain to it, right? But for now it's just like free and cheap and easy. So if that's just a static website, just a 10 lines of JavaScript code, it'll talk to this one little endpoint that we're going to create on this Java project process, Whereas if I, writing a JavaScript page that renders DOM elements and all that stuff is easy in JavaScript, but writing markdown code and then stitching things together and then having to write code in this process to use JGit to clone the static site and then git add and all that stuff, that seems a lot more painful, I'd rather just have the website just be by itself and it'll just pull whatever data I give it and render it, And also that means that if I want to change the styling and the layout of the HTML page, I can do that without ever having to touch this Java code, right? Whereas if I did server-side rendering here, I would have to change this just to change how the static site looks. Does that work? I think I kind of kind of works. Okay, so YouTube data API, and I guess that's the okay, for now we're gonna have an event. So YouTube channel there you go. Hey Luke, updated event. And what is the YouTube channel event going to tell us? Actually, I don't really care what it tells us, right? That's the other thing that's kind of interesting here is it doesn't need to tell us anything. I suppose we could have a date, but I'm just going to invalidate my local state and then recreate the world, when I'm going to recreate the world when the event happens, right? So published when we receive a webhook. Okay, so then the question is, what, I'll write the code. I'll write the code to receive the webhook, and then, little project in Kubernetes. Galantus. It's famous last words, right? A little project and then Kubernetes. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that actually makes it easier. That means the polling logic I don't have to worry about because I'll eventually be able to connect it to this YouTube data endpoint. To just get a notification. I'll subscribe to this notification here saying, let's see, so push notification API. Good. So now I've got this. So now the question then is what happens when that event happens? Okay, so class YouTube service, right? I can just have an @ service here and @ event listener public, or just put void refresh YouTube channel. Okay, so whenever this event gets published, so you mean piping from the user to the Kubernetes endpoint, rendered as HTML. Oh, you're saying render the HTML from the Java code? Oh, yeah. No, see, I do want to benefit from, like the static. Like if I can serve as little as possible from this Java thing, that'd be great, and then the rest will live. All the JavaScript itself will live in some other website completely untouched by this Java code, right? It'll just be static HTML, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't love serving HTML from Java programs these days. Most of the time I just serve JSON or GraphQL or whatever and then connect it. But yeah, I was gonna, and I want the HTML to live on another service just because I think it would be weird to have to redeploy this API just to be able to update the markup, right? So I wanted a separate thing. So my original thinking was this Java code, this API would see the new updates, it would recreate the world full of the YouTube state, and then it would write out markup and render it in files that get added to that Git repository for the GitHub Pages thing. But I don't want to. That sounds tedious. So let's try that out. If I go here, exactly. That's why I want the separate JavaScript thing, right? Okay. Although to counter that point, if my backend server with the JSON endpoint goes down, then my JavaScript page won't be very good. Well, okay, so let's think about that. So what is how do you do that? How to create a GitHub page for organization, right? I want to do that for now. octocat.github.io. So if I create a repository under the organization, is it... yeah, let's see, new repository. Okay, .github.io, is that right? The static site for the YouTube show. Okay, a static site for the YouTube show. Add README. I don't care about this. It's just JavaScript. Whatever. Okay, moving on. And then patch 2 licensed. Okay, so how do we? Let's just see if that works first of all. CD desktop clone. CD coffee software show. Touch index.html. Emacs index.html. Hello world. Git add. Okay. This typically takes a little bit. I remember this takes a minute or two. Did I do everything right though? Choose repository visibility. I chose public. Select initialize with README. Create the repository. Creating your site. Navigate to your site's repository. I think I did already. I created the index.html. After publishing, your source is a branch and folder. If you're okay, the entry is let's see. Yeah, it does scream native image, and you can see I already got GraalVM there. Yeah, exactly. This is one of those things where I've tried Hilla. Yeah, I did a whole YouTube video on it, Spring Tips video on the Spring Central channel, right? I did there. It's about a year ago. Let me see, YouTube, Spring Tips, Hilla, framework, and I just did some collaboration with my friends over at Vaadin. Actually, we were working together on. Oh, cool! Yeah, this video seems to have clicked with people. So yeah, check this out. This is from 10 months ago, right? But it's fairly new, and if you look at Vaadin, Hilla, GraalVM, native, okay. Let's see. This is Hilla native. No, that's not the right one. Where's... I don't know. Where did it go? Where did it go? Vaadin? Hilla. Basically, I worked with them to help create the GraalVM support, right? So for both Vaadin Flow as well as Hilla. But yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So let's get back on track here. But it's, where is it? Hilla, native, hints. Oh well. I don't even know where to look. Vaadin. Is it called Vaadin Flow or is it just called Flow? HTMX is awesome. Yeah. Dave Sire. Did you ever see Dave Sire's HTMX thing? He did a whole, let's see, Spring.io guides. Dave Sire, by the way, is one of my all-time favorite human beings. He's the Dr. Sire. He's the co-founder of Spring Boot and Spring Cloud and all that good stuff. He's amazing. And let's see, what did he do? React. Oh, David, Sire, HTMX. Clearly some Googling. Here we go. Maybe it's in here. No, that's 13 years old, 12 years old. HTML. Let's see, client-side development Spring Boot applications. Is that it? Yeah, there you go. This is a blog from December 17th, 2021. You remember 2021? That was the extension of 2020, right? Which was famously terrible year. But there's some good stuff when we're all cooped up. So the good Dr. Sire is one of those, he's a genius. So when he goes out and just gets some free time, he does cool stuff. So he explored HTMX Turbo, which is like hot wired from David Hannemeyer Hansen. Hi, Sandro. Nice to talk to you. Vue, he looks at Vue, he looks at React WebJars, looks at Node.js and React, and lots of samples here, lots of good stuff here, right? Client-side development with Spring Boot applications. Underrated blog. Okay, let's see here. So I'm gonna keep this over here, just hide it. And Vaadin flow. Vaadin, if you look at there we go. Like this registrar, this stuff right here, I helped write a lot of this. So, not only do I love Hilla and Vaadin flow, but also it works on GraalVM as well, thanks to an incredible collaboration with him. Hey, meanwhile, is our website working? Let's close some tabs here. Hey, there you go. So there's my static site, right? Easy enough. So what I'm thinking is I'll just put like some JavaScript in there and have it talk to my Kubernetes service, right? It'll just read from GraphQL or from JSON, from REST, from HTTP, whatever, and it'll render. So this part, let's assume that I can cobble together some very, 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 very basic JavaScript and make that work. But for now, I'm much more interested in building the endpoint itself, right? So, by the way, this is, what is it, Fiverr designer hires, right? And Upwork. Let's see, Fiverr, this one. Like, I've had some good success with hiring people, because I don't, I'm no good at web design. Or I suppose I could do an okay job, but why would I try? Like it's just so much time that I don't have, and there are people that are much, much better and 1,000 times faster. So Fiverr and what's the other one I used? Upwork and freelancer.com, right? Those websites are so good. So I'll find somebody who can do. Maybe I will. I'll try. Maybe one day I'll get around to it. But in the meantime, my first proof of concept will just be like render a bunch of H1s with the titles of the videos, right? That is live. You updated the Spring Boot 3? How'd that go? I hope it's okay. Didn't have what problem? I think I missed something, friend. It says, hello, Josh, and then it's after I upgrade to Spring Boot 3. Older version didn't have this problem. I think I missed a problem. Yikes. Did you see that /chat just popped up and there's a notification there that Zoom is laying off 1,300 people. Wow. Wow, yeah. Okay, so anyway, that's my static site. So here's the basic approach, right? When we get an event, we'll worry about the event later, right? We'll create an endpoint here, an actuator endpoint to to trigger this. So actually, that's a good point. For now, we can just create an actuator endpoint, but I'm sure that later we'll use the webhook. Yeah, the Spring Boot upgrade for Spring Batch was special. Yeah, and you know why? I mean, I'd be interested in. Yeah, I couldn't agree. Yeah, couldn't agree more, man. There's definitely a gap in DDD, and that's why I think it's very useful to think about interfaces and events, right? Oh, you have an error from Spring Mail. Like Java, the Spring Java Mail template. I haven't even tried that in like half a decade or something. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have any ideas offhand, but create a Stack Overflow and send it to me, and we can take a look. The Spring Batch upgrade was kind of interesting because we inverted a default, right? And so, like normally, let's see. So normally in Spring Boot, you express a dependency by having a starter. So my my Spring Boot starter. So if I have this on the class path, group artifact Spring Boot starter, right? That on the class path, right? If you have this on the class path, then that is the queue for auto configuration to kick in, right? And you get default behavior. Normally, if you wanted to override that, then you say @enable, my thing, right? Whatever, you @enable something, and that's how you tell Spring usually, my config, that you're going to take control. Maybe you'll provide a bean configurer, so implements my thing configurer, right? And you have callback methods and all that stuff. So public void do config on my thing, and so I'm using generalities here, but like basically having @configuration with @enable something is saying to Spring Boot it's a queue to the runtime that you intend to override the defaults that you would have gotten had you just left the starter on the class path. Okay, so and that's been true for most projects. The problem is with Spring Batch, it was the opposite, right? It's just a legacy of the fact that Spring Batch, again, the great Dr. Sire, about whom we just spoke. He was one of the co-founders of Spring Batch, and he was the Spring Batch project lead for more than a decade. And then he was also the co-founder of Spring Boot and Spring Cloud. And so when he joined the Spring Boot team, he's also a committer on Spring Framework, right? So when he joined the Spring Boot team, one of the very first things that he put together, obviously, was the Spring Boot starter for Spring Batch, because, go with what you know, right? And so that was one of the very first things that was ever written for Spring Boot, but it had slightly different relationship, right? And so in that Spring Boot starter, you have to say, you had to, prior to Spring Boot 3, you say @enable batch processing, and if you do that, that tells Spring Boot that you want the Spring Boot starter for Spring Batch to be active, right? But that's not how it works for every other starter in the world, right? So what should happen is, if you have, org Spring Framework work.boot Spring Boot starter batch, what should have been is, you have Spring Boot starter batch and you have nothing else, then fine, you get default behavior. You shouldn't have to opt in with the @enable batch processing annotation. So one of the things we did in Spring Boot 3 is to finally fix this, right? So now, if you have @enable batch processing, now you're saying, hey, Spring Boot, don't do the default thing. I'm going to take control. I don't want you to configure the default behavior. So if you then have this annotation, but then you don't do anything, nothing happens. And so the effect is that the default behavior that used to work in Spring Boot 2.x now is the opt-out behavior. Like the opt-in behavior was to have that annotation, but now it's the opt-out behavior. So if you want your Spring Boot app, I mean, forget about API changes and whatever, but even just fundamentally, if you want your Spring Boot app to work with Spring Batch today, because of the migration to Spring Boot 3, you gotta delete that, right, at a start. And that'll probably get you most of the way to making it work. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's like, like it, I get why we did it. I get it, you know. But I mean, Spring Boot is, you know, we're very good at keeping backwards compatibility. But man, this one was like, you know, I wish there was like a big giant red error that got printed on the console saying, "Hey, let's have a chat about your opt-in versus opt-out queues," you know, because that, like, literally what was the correct behavior before is now the exact opposite behavior. It's the wrong behavior by default, you know. Oh well, whatever. Okay, moving on. So we have this thing here. We have our app, okay? I'm just imagining we have an endpoint here that will get called whenever somebody calls this endpoint. Whenever we get in this event, we'll need to reconfigure our state. So for our purposes, so that we have something to test with today, just to get by, I'm going to use the Spring Boot actuator, and I'll create a simple YouTube actuator endpoint, okay? And this will be a management context configuration, is that right? And do I want to do anything special? I don't think I do I? Configuration. Okay, class read operation. It's not reading, is it? It's write operation. Oh, I'm so lazy though. Let's just do read operation for now. So map string boolean map string object reset, right? Okay, and this will just be a Spring Bean, and we'll say we want to inject the application event publisher at component. Oh, do I want to use Lombok? I probably do, don't I? So let's see, Lombok. What's the definition? So I want to have this configuration here. Okay, and then annotation processor. And then anything else? Growl VM. Nope. Growl VM. Okay, looks sane. So revoke that, rebuild that, and okay. So what am I doing? So I'm saying when this operation gets invoked, what's the health endpoint look like? I think it's just that. Oh, endpoint. I gotta have this annotation here, don't I? So YouTube reset. Let's just call it reset, or YouTube. Okay, so when somebody calls this endpoint, we'll publish an event. New YouTube channel. Okay. Return map.of when now. Okay. Let's just see if that works. That's already our first concession, right? So management expose. Restart. Oh, of course. This thing right here. Okay, restart. Nope, still need something. What do I need? Oh, I need the application event publisher. And restart ×2. Why isn't it restarting? Oh, it's got the wrong run config. Let's try that again. Localhost actuator. Oh, what's wrong with this? Oh, it's the right, the Postgres. I've got Postgres in the class path. Postgres R2 name is Postgres. URL username is Postgres. Password is Postgres. URL is R2 Postgres localhost Postgres. And I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of Postgres. Let's see. Is it possible to use Spring Webflux and Spring Data R2 with domain class converters? I don't know. I haven't even tried it, if I'm honest. Yeah, good question. That could be an interesting thing to stream. Okay, let's see. So, copy old cd YouTube service, copy old Docker compose. Okay, git add. Where does this code live exactly? Oh, it's in the downloads directory. Okay, so copy Docker compose, download YouTube, cd downloads, YouTube, and cat Docker compose, subtle. Okay, Docker compose up. What's the benefit of going reactive? Good question. So what is the benefit of going reactive? There are several benefits. One is ease of composition. Another one is better scalability, right? And another one is the robustness, for basically the patterns that make it easier to handle errors, back pressure, operators for robustness, that kind of stuff. And that's definitely a whole thing, but those are the three big things. Okay, let's see if this works. I'm curious. Okay, it's a start. Good. Management. What do I want? Exposure. I've got that. Web, no. There's a property here you can use to yeah, there's a property. It does feel nice. Oh, coroutines are amazing. Yeah, great point there. Great point. I love coroutines in Kotlin. Okay, management. What am I looking for here? Probes. Spring Boot. Management. endpoints root. This one, endpoints enabled by default. Where's the root one? That's what I'm trying to figure out is, so actuator, usually, it used to be there was like a menu, and I've always kind of, let's see. Endpoint, exposing endpoints, web exposure. This one, web discovery, aha. Web discovery, enable, oh, that's not it. Management endpoints management. Oh, whatever. Okay, so for now, let's just try that. There is our YouTube endpoint, right? So that works. I'll worry about the other thing, the menu. I'm trying to remember the property, but it'll come back later. Who cares? So for now, we've got something. Okay, so we've got an event. We've got an actuator endpoint that we can use to test it. So that's fine. So now what? Let's move this out, I guess, to out of sight, out of mind, right? So let's see here. Okay. Oh, IntelliJ is so unhappy with me right now. Okay, let's close this before it gets worse. I don't know what just happened. Okay. Idea build.gradle. Well, sorry you feel that way, Karanduz. I think it's not Loom is not Loom only addresses one. Remember that little thing I showed you here? Ease of composition, error handling, scalability. This thing right here is where Loom offers an alternative, but it does nothing to help with that, right? So I still think reactive programming pays for itself in those two, right? But yeah, for a lot of use cases, maybe all you care about is the cheaper threads, in which case Loom is awesome. I cannot wait for Loom. In fact, Loom will make reactive better too, so it'll just make it so it's just that much more efficient. What am I doing? So, code is back and working. Let's see, close out that. YouTube actuator endpoint, that's the build file. Here we go. Let's just move this stuff out of the way because we don't care about it right now. Actuate. Okay. So goodbye to you. Continue. And then the goodbye to that. Okay, so now we've got this. So we have a way to trigger the event. When this event happens, you know, let's SLF for J. When this happens, new refresh event. Right, so we'll get this event. This will be the equivalent of our webhook. So if we restart, let's see here. Oops, what happened? Cannot be accessed from there, sure. Oh, this type needs to be public. So that's a good point, make that public. See, events, I don't mind making those public, right? Events and interfaces, core interfaces. Everything else I try and avoid making public. It's just cleaner that way. Oh yeah, reactive debugging can be a pain. 100%. Let's see here. Refresh. Why is this still unhappy? Import the class. Can't paste a GitHub link. I don't know. Oh, is there some sort of like... I'm new here, friends. I don't even know. Is there something... is there something in YouTube's chat? I mean, this is literally my first stream on YouTube on this channel, like ever. So, so I don't know. Does YouTube's chat block links? I'll look into that after the stream. But you know, my direct messages on Twitter at StarbucksMan are wide open, of course, and that kind of thing. Or just send me a public tweet. I mean, that's fine too. You know, whatever. Okay, did I appease the compiler? Nope, not yet. What is happening? Goodbye to that. Restart. Goody. So just making sure that works. And when there you go, new refresh event. So I go to the actuator endpoint, it triggers a refresh. We can assume that actuator endpoint is kind of like, yeah, can I stream on Twitch? So yes, I think I can. I don't, I need to figure this out, right? I need to figure out like how you stream to both YouTube and Twitch. I'm gonna see. I'll talk to my buddy Deshaun. He's smart. He knows the things, you know. So I'm sure we'll figure it out. Okay, let's see. So YouTube event. What happens now, friends? We haven't even done the hard part. Let's do the actual work now. The actual work of, hey, I gotta read data from the database. So going to my desktop, YouTube service, old, okay. CD source main Java copy R com client to downloads YouTube source main Java restream. Okay, good to know. Let's take a look. Restream. Ooh. How much does this cost? $16 a month. I have $16 a month. I can do that. Dope. Sign me up. Thanks. Is it okay to use an exception to communicate between a Spring library and your Spring application? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, if you're trying to communicate an exception, then yeah, why not? Okay, let's see. So that's good. Look at that. So any other suggestions like that? That'll make me So is the idea that with Restream I can like stream to one like endpoint RTMP endpoint and it'll split it out to others or what? Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, there's Dan. He can help. Good. Yeah, like I want to like this streaming nonsense is so I don't care. I just want to like get it set up and never ever have to think about it again ever. Let's see. Create a Spring Boot library that creates an independent controller. I then use controller advice in my main application to show a toast when the call from the client to the library. I created a Spring Boot library that creates an independent controller. Okay, so it registers a controller through autoconfig or something like that. I then use the controller advice in main application when the call from the client to the library. Yes, I think I understand what you're saying. Your application is responding to something that your controller is doing. Is that the idea? And you're not really involving you're not directly invoking the controller. You're just letting it do things, and when you get an exception, then you intercept it with a controller advice, which is great because that means you can respond to all exceptions, not just the controller that you've surfaced or shipped in the library. That sounds reasonable, unless I'm missing something. That sounds about right. Okay. Okay, good. So where's my bit of code here? So this is, what could go wrong? Let's just do that. Okay. Client. Haha. Okay, so it's well, that could go wrong, I guess. Package client, client, please, client, this one, package client, okay. I really should extract this out into a separate auto configure library or something, but for now let's just copy and paste. It's not the most terrible thing I've done today, although it's pretty close. Default YouTube client, that's this one right here, right? So why do I have to import anything? Why does the first post request take time when using the reactive Kafka producer template? Is it doing some sort of lazy initialization for the Kafka template? I would just look into that. Maybe try proactively sending a message when the app starts up. That way, when you get your first HTTP request that uses Kafka, it's already warmed up and connected and all that stuff. But again, I'm just surmising. Okay. Job properties. What do I need the job properties for? I need the API key. Right. Okay, so the next question. We need properties. Let's try that. So we have a property here. I'll call this youtube.api key equals, and I have an environment variable echo YouTube. It's called CS. Goody. So I'll call that. YouTube API key, and I'll create a proper. Let's see. Oh wait, let's see if I can get this to compile first, then my thing will be happier. So string API key. Good. What about this? Holy good God. Oh, it's this. Oh, of course it's that. Okay, so import that. Goody. Okay. Everybody happy? Good. Okay, so move that underneath there. There's my client. Fantastic. Is it not readable? Is it because of the font is too small? Oh wait, okay, so let me see. Font. For now, until I can figure that out, let's see if we can make just the font bigger. How's that? Let me see if that does the trick. How's that? Is that font okay, I hope? Okay, sweet nectar. Good. All right. Let's see. Good stuff. Okay, so we've got our client. Let's just see if it all works. I mean, I don't even know if this is going to work yet. Right now, I'm just kind of relying on everything. Oh, good. I was smart enough to build YouTube hints. Okay, so this is going to be... We're going to inject the string property from the property file, but I need to create an actual, constructor configuration properties thing. I'll do that in just a second. Let's just make sure the basics work here. And how do I want to make sure it works? I want to make sure it works by having a thing that listens for another event. In this case, public void begin application ready event, and we'll inject the private file YouTube client. Okay. The package structure. Well, so I always do, by feature, right? Not by role. And the core of my engine, I try and do as DDD style as I can, right? I have this philosophy. You can call it DDD or CQRS or whatever, but I call it interfaces and events, right? So if you look at most Spring code or whatever, you've got core interfaces lower in the package structure, and then as you go deeper, you get implementations, and those are packaged private, but the interface that they export is public, right? So that's part one. And then when it comes to communicating, I don't want peers, I don't want things that are next to each other to communicate with each other through public types, right? So I use events, right? So events and interfaces that are the only things that I make public. Everything else is packaged private. And I use events to publish changes from one side of the code base to another, and I use interfaces to support queries, right? Again, very similar to CQRS, right? Commands are events and queries are interfaces. Okay, let's see. So, and actually, you don't even need this. I'm a big believer in non-public methods whenever I can. Whenever I see a model and a view and a controller package in your code base, I want to just spend some time with you and help you rethink the way you write software, because it's gonna get you into hot water. And I think that's part of the reason why people have so much trouble with moving to microservices, is because they're still in this Ruby on Rails style, this Ruby on Rails controllers package and model package and all that, and they haven't thought about proper domain modeling in their code yet. Okay, so what am I doing? All I'm trying to do, friends, is just to give myself a hook to do this. So let's see, get channel by ID. What'll that give me? That'll give me a channel. So what is the channel name? Get channel by username. I think it's just coffee shop. Do I need to have the @ sign? I don't know. Let's just see what happens. Subscribe channel, and just trying to print it out. I'm just trying to channel.title, right? That's all I want in the whole wide world right now. Yeah, exactly. Your package should scream what it does, not what is inside of it, right? I don't care about and Spring. This is, you can see even in my code, it's sort of ridiculous, because remember, Spring has these stereotype annotations. Those stereotype annotations they're there to tell a story about your code. They're informational, like UML, right? So they're this is at service. There are some runtime semantics that are implied by this annotation, but the important thing is that that when you look at the type that has this annotation on it, that it's a service, not that it has any particular In this case, it does, but that's sort of less important, right? Documentationally, and so that's why I have this thing called, I use, YouTube service in the type, just to make it clear what it is. But even that, you could just get rid of it, right? Like logically, but the only problem with that is, you like if you have a customer service that operates on customers, and actually, if you think about it, what I'm actually building here isn't a service, it's more like an aggregate, right? This is actually kind of like an aggregate in domain-driven design parlance, because what I'm doing is I'm using events to influence or inform the state of this aggregate, which is in turn the thing that holds all the data about my YouTube channel, right? But again, I'm using the name of the thing in the type just so that so that it leaps out when you do control space, Okay, so okay, YouTube service. All I'm trying to do, let's just try this out. I don't know if this is going to work. I have no idea. I should probably just write a test, but since this code has already been tested, I'm not really trying to prove that it works so much as that it works in this code base. Oh, okay, I need a web client. That's fair. Web client builder. Okay. Hey, what happened? XML is because items is null. That's a bummer. Do I have a web endpoint? Yeah, I got a web server. So what's the haps? What's the problem? Maybe I don't need that. I don't know. Let's just try it. Well, okay. Clearly, I was mistaken. It doesn't work anymore. Let's see. Let's try something non-controversial. So this .client.get channel by username. No, I just want like get a video by its ID. What could go wrong, right? So YouTube, coffee, software. Nope, I don't even know my own channel name.
Building your online business?
How meta. Okay, .subscribe, video. Hey, that worked. Okay, so clearly the API can work. Maybe that one endpoint wasn't fleshed out. Goody. Okay, I'm feeling better now. So I just upgraded the I just scaled out the window. Okay, so what do I want to do then? So I've got this that works correctly. So this .client.get channel by ID. How do I find out my channel ID? YouTube. Customize channel. My channel. Oh, that's it right there, right? Application.properties. YouTube channel ID. You know, it's time to start building those. I think it's time to build out properties already. So YouTube properties, string channel ID, and then the API data key. Okay, so add configuration properties, YouTube, and then we go up here. What DMs are open? Starbucks fan on Twitter? Yeah, they're open. They should be. Hold on. Enable configuration properties. YouTube properties. I don't know What? So I get DMs all the time. Yeah, they must be open. I get like they go into a separate, queue, and I see them, and I try and respond whenever I best I can. But they do arrive. I do get messages all the time. Otherwise, I don't know who I'm responding to then. As for that question, does the web client have stale connection issues? I don't know that it does. I don't know. I don't think so. Why would it? When you say stale connection, do you mean like DNS, that kind of thing? Because that's not a web client so much as a Java DNS TLS thing, Okay, so what are we doing? What are we doing, friends? The configuration properties. Okay, where's my properties? I don't have the configuration processor. Go here, config. Okay. Good. Ideation processor. Goody. So, what do we fix? We have the client here. It has its own configuration. I don't need to inject this like that anymore. I can just inject the properties directly. API data key. Okay, so that's API data key, YouTube API data key, or maybe it's data API key. Okay, so go back to the properties thing. This one. Properties. Goody. Okay. So there's that. And then finally this one should be the channel. So system, the channel ID is this dot, we need the properties. String channel ID. Already got our first issue. Right. Okay. Properties. Properties. Dot channel ID. And I need also the YouTube client, which we built elsewhere. Do I work with YAML config files? I desperately try and avoid them. I'm all about that hashtag. There's a couple things against which I stand firm, one is YAML, the other is PHP, of course. That one just because, and YAML is like, it's so weird because I love Python. Right, I'm a huge Python fan. I've been programming Python since the 1990s. Right, I'm like, so you don't have to tell me that it's possible to be productive with a space-sensitive, format, but somehow they're not the same. There's just something inherently flawed with YAML. Like YAML is, I don't know, just use JSON or properties or whatever. Okay. Did we figure this out? Yeah, channel ID. Okay, log that out. Okay, that seems to be working. Good. The other thing I noticed is I've got like code formatting issues, so let's use the Spring Java format plugin. For Gradle, class path. That's the classic way, right? Yeah, I should just be able to add that. I don't think I need to add the build script stuff, do I? Okay. What is going on? I don't know why I have to do all this. That is the old style, right? Maybe I should send a pull request. Maybe there's a way to fix that. Like, I should just be able to specify the plugin ID, and then that resolves, and that should be enough. I don't have to, by default, Maven Central is already set up. I don't need to do that. And having to specify all this seems superfluous. Build script. Okay, so what is the task for it? Maven. Format. Okay, so let's try it. Let's go back here. Do the worst thing I can do to my code. And then go to console. Gradle. Format. No? Oh, okay. Right. Build.gradle. Build script. Yeah, that's what I'm confused about. Why is this like... Couldn't I just do this? That's the ID, and the version should be here. I kind of thought that would be enough, right? Like, why do I have to have this whole thing? So can I get rid of this? It seems happy, right? Like, what could go wrong? Although this doesn't seem happy. What's this? Java warning. Where is this warning happening? Okay. Let's make sure we delete that. Okay, good. Fantastic. So we've got our aggregate, we've got the channel ID, we've got the client. I think it's just time to do the work now, right? So what do we want to do? We want to take... Yeah, that's the group ID. Good night to you. Thanks for joining me. Okay, come on. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for that. Well, I'm going to be doing a lot more of these streams, so, feel free to return, drop on by. Okay, so let's think about this. I just want to have a private void do reset throws exception, and the reset will be do reset here, here. So when we get the webhook and when the application starts up, in both cases we'll do a reset, right? We'll reconfigure our state. And what is that state? Well, that state is we're going to go to the API and get all the videos. So get channel by ID, this.channel ID, and then map the channel to what? We want to get all the videos, don't we? Good night, Coranthus. Are you from, some of you are joining from Europe. Who's joining from France? I'm just curious. Let's see here, channel. And then we got the channel, so given the channel, client.get videos by channel. Get all videos by channel ID, or channel ID. So I guess I want a flat map. Okay. And I'll say, this is, what is this now? So if I flat map the videos, I get a publisher of videos. So flux of videos, right? Oh, this is a mono, so I have to do flat map mini. Okay, yeah, easy. Good. So flux of videos dot subscribe. Neat. There it is. That worked. So that's the hard part, friends. We just did the like that's it basically. That's the magic trick. So now what? So now I have to persist everything into the SQL database, right? Easy. And send out a tweet with each new video, and I need to have some logic where I look at the SQL database, and then I'll use my Twitter client to send that out, and then I'll also, it'll update the API, right? So let's try that out actually. API and Twitter, let's see. Well, first we need to write it out. So let's actually take all this data and just write it to the database, okay? So, gosh, how are we gonna do this? We wanna have a SQL schema. What is the video? What do I have for each video that comes back? I have, it's a video type. So what data do I want to persist? Oh, that's a lot of data. Video ID? So do I want to do like an upsert? Or do I want to just like delete the data each time it's updated and just recreate the database? Because I might republish videos, I might delete videos, I might change the title. I think the video ID is static, but like if I delete the video for whatever reason, then that video ID won't be valid anymore either, right? Let's for now. Let's say I tombstone everything on every single run, and then I'll untombstone it in the upsert, right? So I'll go through before I do the writes, I'll go through the table. I'll say update everything in my YouTube videos table, set it to be like invalid equals true, and then when I do the upsert, when I see the new video in the refresh, when I reread the data, if the video I'm updating happens to have if it's an upsert, if I'm updating the record for an existing video, I'll say invalid equals false, right? Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, so source main resources, schema.sql, split right. Okay. Okay, so create table YouTube video, right? Okay, and we want video ID varchar 255 not null, and then we want title varchar 255 not null, description varchar 255 not null, published at equals date time, timestamp, let's try that, not null, thumbnail, thumbnail URL varchar 255 not null, tags, right, I need to figure that out. So SQL array Postgres SQL. Just in okay, so it's just literally C style. So tags will be varchar or just text. There you go. Category ID. I don't know, big int? No, just int. Let's just try the smallest thing that can possibly work. View count. Yeah, int's probably fine. Okay, like count, int. Bailout to JSONB for what? Like count, favorite count, int, comment, count. My dream is that this number is too small someday, right? That we have a, big int. But for now, let's just settle for int. Okay. Insert SQL. Oh, right. Yeah. I just want to store the... yeah, you're right. I could totally use JSON in the database. That'd be fine too. Okay, so let's see. I'm not even going to bother with the upsert. Let's just get it to work. Insert. That's all I need to do for now. So insert into YouTube videos. And then we want that stuff. Okay. Okay. Oops. Okay. Good. Values. Goody. Okay. So okay. All right. That seems basically sane, right? I mean, I'm not sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Goody. Okay, so now we want to write that record. So void write video. And we have to use R2BBC. Private file R2BBC. What is it now? Client. No, database client, that's right. Okay, so we've got this injected here. It's been a minute since I've had to do this. Good. Okay, so this dot database client SQL, this dot insert SQL. Bind. How can you start with Java open source contributions? My friend, that is a great question. Most open source projects today will have a GitHub repository, and when you go to those projects, you'll see GitHub issues with tags, that are marked as ideal for contribution. So, for example, GitHub GitHub Spring projects, Spring-boot. Okay, and go to the issues. Let's see. Look for labels, right? Look at the labels, and you'll see, because we want to support people, right? We're happy to mentor people. We're happy to help you on your way. There you go. Ideal for contribution. So, an issue that a contributor can help us with, right? And so usually you find one of these on the repository, and we don't put these are like not super difficult, right? These are issues that we could do ourselves. It's not like we're trying to farm out the work or anything like that. We just want to help people find their way into open source, just like people helped us find our way into it. So we have these issues, and most projects have a label like that, right? It's not exactly the same across all projects, but for example, the Spring team, writ large, we do a very good job of, whenever we can, trying to find issues and setting them aside for people who want to contribute. That's true for lots of Java projects too, not just Spring Boot, not just Spring at all, like lots of projects all around the ecosystem. So find those and then respond to the issue saying, hey, I'd like to try to help out with this, or I have an idea, or whatever. And as long as nobody else is doing it, then usually somebody will go along and they'll talk you through it. They might even mentor you, they'll coach you, whatever. Or if you have an idea, they'll validate your idea and then work with you to take the pull request or the response that you give, and to get it into a shape where it can be merged. And then that's it. You'll have done the magic trick of like making the world a better place just one pull request at a time, And by the way, it doesn't have to be code, right? Like code is the for people who are working. I mean, think about it, right? If you're an engineer, right? If you've been working on a piece of code and you're deep into the code, you can already see all the different ways that a bit of code could be stretched and pressed and improved and all that stuff. It's not like that's lost on you, right? It's just So when we have an issue, it's not like most of the time, it's not like we don't have the ability to solve the issue ourselves, right? It's just a matter of time. It really is. And so anything you can do to help give engineers back their time, they'll love you for that, right? That gives them a big smile, and they'll remember you, right? So however you do that, if you take on like, oh, I'll help document this, or I'll help whatever, I'll help test that, or whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be making a new feature. It could be a code fix just like this one right here. But remember, the goal here is just to be useful. And it says nothing about you and your ability as an engineer, that your first pull request is just documentation or something like that, right? Quite the contrary. It says that you're a mature engineer, because you know that that pitching in and helping out in a team is it's not just writing Java code, right? It's everything, the holistic picture. Being a team player. You know who I love? One of my all-time favorite people in the planet, but especially on the Spring team as well. Andy Wilkinson, right? He's on the Spring Boot team, and I mean, I don't even know how to like. He's easily one of the smartest people I've ever met. Easily, not even a question. And yet, you probably don't know him. I mean, if you read the source code for Spring, you know him. But he's like the anti-Josh. Whereas I am just loud and kind of smelly. He is quiet and diligent, and he works 110%, and he does everything well that he tries, and he never puts up a fuss, and there's no ego in what he does. He just rolls up his sleeve and does the hard stuff and the fun stuff and the glorious stuff and the non-glorious stuff, and he just does it all the time for decades. He just gives 110% all the time, and it doesn't matter how big or small it is. And so, for example, he's the one who led our dependency management. Do you remember when we first announced Spring Boot back in 2014? Not too long thereafter, we had the Spring I/O platform, bill of materials, dependency management. And then even today, when you use Spring Boot, you're also using the Spring Boot dependency management, right? Well, remember, we have all these different dependencies, Jakarta EE and Java and all these different third-party libraries and all these things that have to line up and work well together. So when you use Spring Boot, you trust that, you're not going to get conflicting versions of log4j. You're not going to get conflicting, versions of JUnit or whatever. You're not going to get all these sort of mutually incompatible dependencies. That's because Andy works on all the things, and Andy is, again, he's one of the smartest people on the team. He's one of the smartest people I've ever had the privilege of meeting. He could do anything he wanted in his life, right? I mean, he worked on the transaction manager for WebSphere, right? The JTA, distributed transaction manager for WebSphere, which is used by it was, especially back then, it was used by all the large organizations, like that thing has hooks down into the kernel, right? It used to be, if you did a transaction with that transaction manager, it would guarantee consistency at every layer, not just in the JVM, but well below the JVM, right? It was a marvel of engineering. And so he worked on that, he could do anything he wants in his career. He could go anywhere, do anything, and probably still be bored because he's that smart. And yet he's still, this, the Spring team went to him and said, hey, we need to figure out this dependency management issue. And it's like, well, okay, guess that's what I'm doing. And he just rolled up his sleeve and he did it, and it was so amazing, I love people like him. I love the Spring team, right? Because it's full of people like him who are, they give much more than they take, and they deserve, I think they're, you cannot measure that. You cannot talk about great engineers without talking about amazing engineers like that who just, they just pitch in. They're just amazing. They're just happy to help. And that makes them the best engineers, Okay, so binding. We gotta bind. What are we binding? I think it's positional, right? So 1, what is the first value? Is video ID. Let's see if we can get rid of this. Okay. Video ID. Okay, so first things first. Video ID. Number 2. Title. Number 3. Description. Number 4. Published. Number 5. Tags. Tags. I'm curious about that. I don't know if that's gonna work. Let's just try to array new string of 0. Okay. Number 6. What is this one? 6 is category ID. 7 is view count. 8 like count. 9 favorite count. Comment count. Well, repositories are great if you've got really complex domains, but in this case, I don't. Like, it's just a very simple. I'm just doing an upsert, and actually, I want control over the upsert logic here. So I'm just using straight old SQL. But if it gets any kind of complicated, maybe I'll resort to a repository or an object mapper or something. You know, yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think we've got something here, friends. I think this will be good. So, oh, what did I do? Execute? Dot execute? No, dot fetch? I don't know. Okay, sure. So okay, something happened. Yes, so it's PG password equals PSQL. No, sorry, it's Postgres. PSQL U Postgres H localhost Postgres. Well, I'm glad you're seeing how other people solve the problem. In this case, I didn't solve the problem. Let me see, 13 results. Did it not execute? Like, it's bizarre that it didn't even... Did this even run? Oh, it's because I don't have the embedded... Okay, let's try that. So where's my application properties? Embed SQL... init SQL init mode equals always. Take 3. Okay. Now we're cooking. But why didn't it fail the first time? Oh. Okay, that didn't work, did it? Okay, we're close though. We're getting closer and closer by the second. So SQL.fetch, oh, all. Okay. Flux on error resume. Let's see, do on error. Maybe it's just a then thing. Okay, when in doubt, cheat. I'm gonna look at my old code. cd old subble. Okay. Queries. Wow. How did I do this before? So ingest job. Database client SQL. That's a select. Oh, here's an insert. So bind fetch rows updated. Aha. That seems interesting. So then fetch and then rows updated. Let's see what that buys me. Mono on error resume. What's the error? When in doubt, debug it out. Thanks. I can do names, actually, even if I don't even know if that's appropriate, but I want to do it because, frankly, this is freaky. Okay, so wait, how did that work? So it's a colon and then the name. Okay, let's do that. So colon and then the name. Okay. And then title. Okay. Goody. So video ID, title, description, published at, thumbnail, URL, tags, category ID, view count, like count, favorite count, comment count. Okay, seems sane. So now bind this So that title, description, published at. I think it's probably, let's comment this out for now, okay? Okay, keep that out for now. I don't trust that at all. Category ID is underscore. View underscore count. Like underscore count. Favorite count. Comment count. Okay. Create table if it exists. Okay, what is the issue here? 13 results. Haha. Now we're cooking. We got something. At least I can deal with this. This is like no parameter specified for thumbnail URL in query. Okay, that's true. I did not do that. So thumbnail URL, video thumb dot to external form, and then thumbnail URL in the query itself. Thumbnail URL. Good. So I do have it. Thumbnail URL. Good. It's right there. So var car too long. What's too long? Is it the description? It's probably a description, isn't it? Text. Text. Table. That's a good point, Mohammed. Yeah, I probably don't need the comment count, but since I won't have I don't know, it might be useful to do analytics. It'd be like a warehouse. It'll be offline reporting, you know. I won't have the live view, but if you assume I'm going to be updating this database a few times a day, and I'll be updating it for every video, it'll be at most a day or so behind in terms of numbers. I don't know what the use case is. I'm just grabbing it since I can. But you're right. It would be ideal. Okay, look at that. That didn't seem like an error. That didn't seem like an error. Hey, we did it. Go team. Okay, so nice. Good. Well, I think that's actually good first step. Let me oh, where did this come from? AOT test. What is that? I don't remember adding that. Did you? Huh. Okay, so I think we've got enough for now. I think I'm gonna leave it here, and we'll kick it off again tomorrow. What do you think? Could that work? I think that could work. This was fun. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'm gonna put the code on the Git repository before I forget. Let's see here. Copy R. Downloads YouTube. So downloads YouTube .gradle. Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate it. Whoa, what is that? Actually, you know what? Maybe I don't even need the old one anymore since I got what I needed out of it. So let's go to this repository. Get in. It's already a service, right? .config. Yeah. Oh no, I need the downloads directory. cd YouTube, get init. Well, I'm glad you're liking it. Yeah, I'm gonna try and stream more because why not? I've got bugs to solve and projects I want to build and content I want to talk about, and you know. It's nice to chat with people, obviously. Let's see. YouTube. Git push. Do I know what I'm doing? Always good to check this part. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so desktop. YouTube service .git config .git config cat .git config YouTube service on the Coffee Software Show, git status, git push, force. There it is. It worked. We did it. It's all live. What do you mean? When there is a dependency conflict, Java or Spring won't tell me anything? Is it really hard? What do you mean? Like a Maven or Gradle dependency? Or like, or what? I'm not sure what you mean. If you have two beans that have the same name, it'll log out on the console that there's been one is overriding the other, and in fact, I think it's disabled. You're not even supposed to be able to do that, or at least there's a property you can set so that it'll bark. But yeah, that sounds. I'm not sure what the problem you're experiencing is, but oh, Maven. Yeah, I mean, it's a perennial problem. Spring does an incredible amount of work to make sure you don't have dependency conflicts. We try and manage everything as much as possible, but we can't manage the entire ecosystem. It's impossible. So sometimes it happens. I would just recommend using the Maven dependency :tree, or there's a dependency report for Gradle as well. So yeah. All right, my friends, this is fun. I'm gonna go get some coffee and go hang out with my family and stuff. I've been at it since 8 a.m. It's been one of those days. So I'll see you all tomorrow, I think. This is fun. Thank you so much.